Welcome to Career Tools. This week's cast, What Your Resume Says, Part 3. Here we go. So this is the latest installment of taking a look at resumes that people sent us.
Yep.
Crazy people sent us their resumes so we could go through them and tell them what we didn't like. We really are nice people, folks. We got 100, and we've taken 17, and we've gone through and analyzed them, basically explicated them, and we have 2 more this week. We have, what are the names this week?
Olivia Walton.
Oh, Olivia and Ike Godsey.
And Ike Godsey, yeah.
Okay, good.
We do them in that order.
All right. So let's talk about Olivia first.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
Olivia probably has a resume that's reflective of a lot of our audience. She's an IT project manager. She did some product manager work at the beginning of her career, has done project management and program management. She's now a principal program manager, which is pretty senior in the IT project manager arena. So she's had a good career, and relatively quickly, 94 to 2011, that's only 15 years.
Yeah.
So that would suggest that she's pretty good.
Yeah. In other words, what you're saying is that what you see on this resume when you do your quick bottom to top scan, the way you and I do, looking at the jobs, looking for progression, we feel good about the progression.
Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that makes that easier is the structure, the form of the resume, the metadata says this is a reverse chronological order resume. You can clearly see the responsibilities and accomplishments structure of it with bullets and pros and bolded job titles and so on. Yeah, the first thing I thought was, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
In 5 seconds, my first thought is, this is good.
Yeah.
Assuming I'm looking for someone like this, I'm going, okay, I got a good feeling here.
Yeah,
Start out.
absolutely.
Yeah. And again, folks, I'm just going to tell you that structural simplicity with the progression of responsibilities. It's okay if you don't have that. You can't make that up if you don't have it. But that first 5-10 seconds, big plus. We're still looking for negatives, but we have a positive, and we like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good.
So I always start from 0, and I'm adding and taking away points.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah,
exactly.
Good.
So far we're good. The one thing I would suggest, the thing that she hasn't done that's on our recommendations, is to underline the bold administrative titles for the jobs.
The jobs, yeah.
We'll put up on the website a version as she's done it without underlining, and a version with underlining, and you'll really
notice.
surprised at how different it makes it and how much easier it makes it to read.
Yep.
It's really different. The next thing I noticed is that she's got a pretty equal split between all of her jobs. So the product manager role that she had in August 94 has almost the same amount of space as the principal program manager role that she has now.
Right.
And I would make that less equal.
Yeah, I was less strong on that because she was in it for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so I'm guessing if I'm going to side on go on her side, I'm going to say, okay, 5 years, I can't shortchange that. That said, I understand why she did that. I still wouldn't recommend that. I would still shorten that. I would still increase the ones on top. Although her second job, down from the top, she has 7 or 8 bullets, and she only had that job for a little over a year.
Yeah.
The senior program manager, and I think that's because she did well.
Yeah.
And she has stuff to talk about.
Us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the thing is that the most recent job you have usually has more impressive responsibilities and accomplishments than the first job you had out of school.
Right.
And therefore you want to use the space that you have that's limited on the things that are most impressive. Mm-hmm. There is no requirement for you to have equal space for each job.
Right.
So
now, fair to say that if let's say somebody was a program manager and then they became a product manager for a couple of years, but they want to get back to program management, we would tell them your career management document has everything you've done. But if you want to get back to what you used to be doing, you could weight more heavily some of the earlier stuff and weight more lightly some of the later stuff. You wouldn't want it to be way bottom heavy and just only have a couple of bullets for your latest jobs. We expect you, whether you're doing a job you love or not, we expect you to achieve results. Results come first. But you can play with the weighting of the various things when it's done. Yeah. Folks, don't take our comments there to suggest that it has to be this way all the time. There are subtleties here. But there's nothing there that causes us to think that. And so therefore we do want a little bit more on the top and maybe a little bit less on the bottom here.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Good. Okay.
Okay, so one of the reasons that I said that was because her responsibilities for her most recent role are pretty short. It's like a line and a half.
Yes.
And there's no mention about people management, no budget management. So we can't tell, apart from the fact that we know a program manager is usually a pretty big job, we can't actually tell how big this job is.
Right.
We can't tell if it's national or international. She says global support, but that doesn't necessarily...
Doesn't give us any scope. There's no budget. There's no revenue impact. There's no margin. There's no,
No.
Exactly,
And I would want to know all of those things, because a program manager in some companies is not the same as a program manager in other companies.
Right.
And if you're looking, is this person ready for the job that I want to put them into? You have to know that those two things are
I would get
comparable.
frustrated. When I would get to the top job, every time I look at this resume, I got frustrated. I was like, I don't know. I mean, it could be literally a big step back. The only thing that balanced it for me was the word principal, which may just be marketing. It says principal program manager. Generally, there are not two principal program managers. But frankly, it may not be related to the management part. It may be related to the program, that the program is principal.
Is principal.
And I give her a little bit of credit for that, but at the same time, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
There's something here that bugs me. There's a lot. And if it's vague... We assume it's vague. We've told the story many times.
Absolutely a reason.
All the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah.
The reason why we don't like a job on a resume that shows just bullets and no responsibilities, but just bullets without a responsibilities paragraph, and the bullets are responsibilities. In other words, they purport to be accomplishments, but they're only listing as bullets. The reason we don't like that, folks, is because that's what a person who got fired from the job would do. If they did the job so poorly, they're going to list their responsibilities in a format that makes them look like accomplishments. You're going to read them and go, oh, I guess he did this well, but really all he's saying is what he's responsible for. Everyone, the best person and the worst person, when they have a job, have the same responsibilities. Listing your responsibilities as accomplishments is a dangerous thing. That's what people who get fired from the job do in order to make you think they did it well. Now, you may not mean that, but that's the conclusion we draw.
Exactly.
This person might very well have gotten fired because they clearly didn't do anything. Because if they'd have done something, they'd have put it on their resume.
Yeah. We should call that the getting fired rule.
Yeah, good. From now on it is, the getting fired rule.
Okay, and then when we start to read her resume more deeply, her accomplishments, none of the first 5 accomplishments are...
In the first job.
In the first job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are quantified.
Yeah, that adds to the vagueness, the little bit of, ooh... Now, there are other accomplishments that are quantified.
There are.
The 700%
but
and
the
90%.
most recent one isn't. And I think the problem that people have is she's only been in this job since May 2011. So we're talking 18 months.
Right.
And if you're on a 5-year program, then in 18 months, in your mind, you don't have any accomplishments.
You haven't done anything.
because
nothing's done yet.
Exactly. There's nothing finished.
Yeah.
But that's not how projects and programs work.
No.
Projects and programs work on milestones.
And deadlines.
And deadlines.
Budgets.
So in the 18 months you've been there, of the milestones that there have been, how many have you hit? Of the budget you are supposed to have spent, how much have you spent? Of the tasks that you're supposed to have completed, how many have you completed?
Exactly.
So it's completely possible to compare yourself as an accomplishment, to compare yourself to where you're supposed to be, and it doesn't have to be the end of the project.
Yes. Yeah. Now there was the second bullet is create a better product feedback loop to offload overtaxed product management by taking on product owner duties. That was a little vague for me. Now, in my mind, I think the mistake there, first of all, I didn't understand it, which is a problem.
That's just what I thought when you read it.
But the thing that bugs me about it is I don't care that you created it. And by the way, you say better. I'd like to know how we know it's better. But even if you just said create a product feedback loop, I don't want to know that you created it. I want to know that it achieved a result, and then I want to know that you created it, right? Exactly. Now, if it's early, okay, fine. Let's make sure that's clear. But if you did this a year ago and you created a feedback loop and you say it's better, how do you know it's better? And yes, sometimes it's hard to quantify something like that, but it could be simply receive praise for reduction of XYZ over on this other part of the business because of my better product feedback loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the quantification stuff in the first job bugged me. It really added to my sense of vagueness.
Yeah. And the vagueness from product managers, project managers is very frustrating because projects are so easy to quantify.
They are measured.
It's like it's on time, on budget, on scope.
Yeah.
It's like it's the easiest. You have the easiest job to measure,
right?
Because you always know what you're supposed to be measuring. The people who are doing, clinical research and 90% of their stuff is expected to fail after 5 years,
Yeah.
have a much harder time.
Right.
And whenever I see a project manager or a program manager job that doesn't have quantification, I think my first thought is you're not very good.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know that the most basic thing about projects, you're not very good. And clearly that's not true on this resume. I
Right.
can see that she's good.
Yeah.
But
we have to work
doing
harder
herself
than
a
we
disservice.
should. Yes, exactly. We have to work harder than we should to find out that she's good.
Yeah.
And she's moved jobs every 18 months. You mentioned that as well.
Yeah. So people either move jobs quickly because they're very bad or because they're very good. So you can tell if they're very bad in that they either got fired or they got moved or it was hinted that they should leave or their manager made their life so miserable by being more demanding that they wanted to leave. And then the jobs tend to have similar level titles and they've moved at frequent intervals. In this case, her titles have moved up the seniority quickly. And the fact that she's moving every 18 months and up seniority usually means that she's good.
Right. But you still say it would be in the maybe pile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I think. Here's the way I put it. I'm not going to argue with you about being in the maybe pile. I think she's good. But this is the classic moment, guys. I think she's good. The resume doesn't prove it to me. No. And I can't go around deciding somebody's good without something to help me there. And so I admit this is what people get frustrated about recruiting, about why won't they hire me? I'm really good. I know I'm good. Well, okay. I suspect you are good. But I have 5 resumes of people, and I only have 5 interview times.
Exactly.
I have 5 resumes of people. Then I don't think they're good. I know they're good.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you say to you, well, gee, this is an artificial reality. You're darn right it is. It absolutely is. It's probably unfair to Olivia Walton here. And that's why we're doing this cast, to say, let's take another look at this. Let's tighten it up. Let's quantify some things. Let's broaden the top and narrow the bottom a little bit. And that'd be really, then I'd go, okay, it goes from the maybe pile to the yes pile.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with putting somebody in the yes pile and discovering they're not as good as I'm okay with that. I'm looking to say no.
Yeah.
But it's much harder for me to say, well, I'm unsure, so I'll interview her. No.
I always start with a definite yes pile, a maybe pile, and a no pile.
Right.
And if my definite yes pile is smaller than the number of slots I have to interview,
you'll take another look at the maybes.
You move the people to the maybes. And I think that's why she's on the maybes.
In your gut, go back 10, 15 years, ask yourself, how many of the maybe piles that got in the yes, because the yes pile was too small, how many of those turned out to be good hires? Compare the yes pile to the maybe pile. Of course, the numbers are not fair.
10%?
Yeah, and it's just not that many, right?
No.
And so, as a recruiter, you begin to trust yourself. Like, I'm going to be wrong, but if I'm going to be wrong, I'm going to be wrong on saying no. I'm going to give a false negative, right? In other words, I should have hired that person, and I didn't. Yeah. Because there's only one thing worse than a false positive, and that's a false negative. Or the only thing worse than a false negative is a false positive, right? My gosh, we don't want to make that mistake. And if I'm not the one doing the interviewing, if I'm saying this is a person, if I'm the recruiter and there's another manager doing the interviewing and he or she's not any good, and I've told him, yeah, you should interview this person, I hold part of that responsibility, and yet that person's not good enough to know they should be saying no to that person. Yeah, good. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Also, the professional certifications at the bottom. There were several, 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
Scrum and Scrum Master and so on.
Yeah, usually we say put them in the accomplishments of the job you were in when you accomplished the certification.
Because they each take a line, so they would be a bullet, and then you would end up with the same space on the resume.
Exactly, and then you can weight the certification against your other accomplishments.
There you go.
I mean, it comes back to, do you want someone with book learning or do you want someone with actual accomplishments? If somebody can deliver a project, I actually don't care whether they're certified or not. And so when they're looking at their resume and they're going, I've got one line, I've got this great accomplishment that's about numbers, or I've got my Scrum certification, put the one with the numbers in.
Yeah.
And because we'll find out that you've got the certification.
Yep.
And do you know what? I've had plenty of people who have needed a certification and have been great and haven't had it, and we've hired them. We can get the certification.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. Okay, let's go on to Ike.
Okay. So Ike is the co-owner of a creative company. Mm-hmm. That's what he tells us. And first of all, owners generally don't need resumes. What they need is biographies. Because resumes are about getting jobs in other companies, and owners generally are about selling the services and their skills as a consultant.
Okay, but to be fair, though, he may be thinking, I'm going to sell the firm.
He might.
Right? And if he's selling his firm and he's not going with the firm in some fashion, then he would still need a resume, right?
He would still need a resume.
Okay, good. So let's proceed from that perspective.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
So he begins with an objective, and I'm mean. I'm very mean.
Go ahead. Just say it. Just put it right out. You can be the dark Wendy for a change. Go ahead.
The only reason I like objective statements is so that I can laugh at them.
Oh, and this one has the word nexus in it.
I'm sorry, Ike, but
yeah,
it's the worst objective. Everybody knows what the objective of a resume is. You send me your resume so that I interview for a job. To deliver effective communication solutions through the nexus of design and technology is not your objective.
No, it's
your
not.
objective is to get a job.
It's your life goal or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, go talk to your
beautiful.
therapist.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's pretentious and not helpful, and it wastes two lines.
But let's be clear. This guy is a design guy.
Yeah.
And his bullets aren't lined up. It's not even, and the bullets are 3 times the size they should be relative to a design.
And the spacing's not right. I've just noticed there's extra half lines in places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in fact, this resume screams, I'm angry at myself. Sorry, guys, we're kidding around a little bit here. That I'm a designer, but this is ugly.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. That would be my...
And guys, let me just say, we don't mean that you're a horrible person at all. We are being hard-bitten, cynical recruiters who see thousands of resumes. Well, as we say, this is what we tell our friends. If Ike was a friend of ours, I'd say, dude, this is awful. I love you, man. Here's what you need to do. And what percentage, I've never asked this before, what percentage of your friends who ask you for resume advice and you cut right to the chase because you don't want to spend 30 minutes softening it and you're not going to do it yourself because you don't have time, what percentage of friends of yours get offended? You know, folks that you know socially or professionally, and they know
they tend not to get offended. I have some friends that completely ignore me and then come back to me later and say, it's still not working. Well, that's funny. You didn't follow my advice.
Yeah, why would I? Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've never had anybody get offended.
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
So apparently you're a sweeter person than me.
Apparently I say it sweetly.
I have. I mean, I would say 30 to 50%. I'd say, dude, this is terrible. I mean, really. You ask me. You assume that I know something about this. I do. I did this for years. No, this is bad. You need to do this, and this. It should look like this. And then they say, the famous line is, oh, my uncle works on the railroad, and he says that's not.
That's exactly what you get.
Then follow his instructions, and good luck with that.
Somebody else told me something different. Well, why did you ask me if you thought that their advice was great? And poor Ike already starts in a negative because he owns a company, and if we're assuming that he's now applying for a role at my company, people who have owned their own companies have a particular independence that they've gained from owning their own companies, and we worry about putting them into a corporate structure.
And anything that is not structure basic, clear, plain, black and white, ruled straight and so on, is going to be a negative. Even in the design world. If you're an owner and you're coming into a larger corporation or some other corporation, having a resume that is designish works against you. Agreed.
Yeah. So he's having to work harder, and then he clearly isn't working harder because his bullets aren't lined up.
Yeah.
There's no detail about the size of the company he's running. There's nothing about the revenue, the people, and if there's nothing there, then I can be cynical and say it's just him running it out of his back bedroom.
Right.
And it's not successful because if it were, he'd carry on doing it.
Right, and there'd be more people there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And look, and guys, there's nothing wrong with starting your own firm. God bless you, and you've had it for 11 years, and it's not working. Okay, trust me, Ike, that's not a ding against you in your career at all, and yet on the resume, we're going to draw that conclusion that it wasn't successful.
Exactly. You are going to have to work harder to be convincing than other people. And there's nothing to say you can't get a corporate job, nothing. But you're going to have to work harder, and that means telling us information that we need, which is how big is the company and how well is it doing. And if it's not there, we're instantly suspicious.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, though, I know what your next thing is going to be. The word we.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Which, by the way, I did not assume royal we there. I assumed, okay, there's more than one person, although no indication, right? It doesn't say it anywhere. but we mostly use content management systems-based frameworks. We also produce static sites. This literally is no longer a resume. No. This is an ad for the company.
Exactly.
And what's more, that's what you do. It's not how well you do it. Those are bullets. Those are not accomplishment bullets. Guys, if you have a bullet on your resume, by definition in the resume world, it is an accomplishment. It's how well you did something. Resumes exist to help us, and generally speaking, in reverse chronological order, tell us what you were responsible for and how well you did it. What you were responsible for comes first, and how well you did it is always in a bullet. If you tell us what you're doing, what you're responsible for, or how you do something, but not how well you do it in a bullet, it's 2 strikes against you because you don't know about the design of resumes and you're putting stuff in there that I don't really care to know. I would just have you make your responsibilities paragraph longer.
There's 2 things about we. One, there's no need for personal pronouns on your resume because we already know who it's about.
Yeah,
it's about
exactly.
you.
Right.
And 2, we implies that a group of you did it. And if you can't claim it for yourself, you're claiming somebody else's credit. The whole last 10 years thing about everything's a team and we all did it together and we all collaborated doesn't count for resumes.
Doesn't. We're going to hire an individual. And look, we expect you to have collaborative skills. We expect you to be able to work in teams.
But
and
what's
either you
your
can
part of it?
Right, exactly.
And there's nothing in his current role about whether or not he actually satisfied any of his customers.
Yeah.
And things like repeat customers, things like growth in sales, things like the number of recommendations you get.
Yeah.
They're all quantifiable.
Thank yous, notes from clients, praise, anything like that.
Yeah.
And guys, praise, it may not be quantifiable, but if you got praised once, the quantification is one. One. Client said, finest work ever done by a designer. That works for me.
Yeah. And especially, again, this is web-based. Web-based stuff, it's easy to measure. How many hits are you getting? What's the increase? How much did you help your customers increase in sales? If it's easy to measure and you haven't said how to measure it, how you measured it, and how well you did against that, I assume that you didn't.
Right.
And right now, I would stop halfway down that resume and not read the rest. I'm done with it.
Yeah, but to be fair, what your resume says, there's a typo in the bottom job. It says manage the 1.5 million, and then he actually goes to past tense and everything else. So you've got to have past tense there because it was 10 years ago.
Yep.
There's also a link at the bottom with a portfolio.
Oh, yeah. I can't look at your portfolio. 1, I don't want to. And 2,
because
I printed your resume.
Yeah.
I can't click on it.
Yeah.
So don't include... And design type people should have a portfolio.
Sure.
Absolutely. But the resume is something different. The resume is, how do I use my design skills to the benefit of the business and business results?
Right.
Your portfolio is something different.
Yep.
And so the two shouldn't be mixed.
Yeah, your resume should say, I can get an interview. And then we're going to say, bring your portfolio.
Exactly.
And if you want to bring a laptop, if you want to bring an iPad and show us on the iPad, I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, when I look at your portfolio, I'm probably going to ask you some questions. I love interviewing creative people because I get to see their work.
Yeah.
I can't do that with an engineer unless they bring pictures or something, which I wouldn't want an engineer to do. I love these interviews. First of all, because I can't do what they do, and I find that fascinating. I like being in the presence of people who can do things I can't do and never could. I remember a designer once told me, always remember, Mark, that when you draw a straight line, you don't use your fingers. You use your upper body. You use the big muscles.
Yeah.
He says it's easier to draw a straight line without using your fingers. And I thought, that's something I would have never known.
That's
I'm
amazing.
like, wow, that's brilliant. But that happens in the interview, right?
Exactly.
Now, I understand that designers say, well, Mark, people say, we got to, people say. Sorry, dude, we disagree. We got 10,000 years of experience of looking at resumes. Yeah. Could Ike be great? He could.
He could.
Does his resume convince me that I want to talk to him? No, it doesn't. Good.
All right.
Okay, 2 more resumes. People aren't going to like us, right? Do we have resumes coming that are awesome that we just say, wow?
We had some above average.
Yeah.
There isn't one
There's
in the
not an
100.
A+ one.
There isn't one in the 100 that I couldn't make 20% better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Good. That would be the resume workbook, right?
Indeed.
Going through? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, folks. Another week. We look forward to doing these on a periodic basis. We've got podcasts about resumes. We've got the resume workbook that makes it easy. I think it's, $30? Designed to make it easy for you to do your own resume. And there's nothing wrong with showing your friends, and sometimes your friends are going to be wrong. And if you come to a conference and want to show us your resume, if I'm there, I'll be happy to take a look at it. Danny will take a look at it. If Wendy's there, Wendy will happy to take a look at it as well. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hope you got a lot out of this cast. Join us next week for more good stuff from Career Tools. Until then, have a great week.